Hi, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Thanks. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago I created a Laravel 7 CRUD application and in that tutorial I promised I will create a Laravel 7 and Vue.js CRUD application as well. But when I promised that my computer memory went off, gave up the fight. So that's why I have to take a break. But now I'm back and I'm created this CRUD application. As you can see on the screen, it's created with Laravel 7 and Vue.js. So we are able to create, read, update and delete without any page reload, and we are saving the data with Laravel 7 at the backend. We are using a MySQL database and of course Vue.js on the front end and a little bit of Bootstrap 4 as well. Okay, so as you can see we have a list of to-dos and we are able to toggle them as completed or incompleted as you wish, or you can edit each to-dos if you want to, however you want. You can toggle back as incomplete again, and you can delete them as well if you want to. Okay, so we are performing it without any page load, or we can add new to-dos to the list. For example, and you are able to toggle them. And if we are doing a page reload, as you can see, we grab all the information from the MySQL database and display it to the user. Okay, so if you are interested, please follow me in this tutorial, and the code will be in the description, so it's give you an extra help as well. Okay, so let's just start it. Okay, so let's just start this project. First of all, open up a command line and let's create a new Laravel 7 application with Vue.js. So open up a command line and type in Laravel new and whatever your application name, in my case Vue.js to do. Okay, it will take a couple of minutes. Right, now it's done, so let's see the inside this new folder. Okay, now we are inside this folder. Let's go to the Laravel page, documentation, frontend and frontend scaffolding, and let's run this composer require Laravel UI command. Copy and paste, enter. It will take 1 minute again. Right, that's done. Let's go to the next step. We want Bootstrap and Vue.js, so I usually use this PHP artisan UI view --out. So let's copy it and paste again, hit enter to run it. Okay, so now we have Bootstrap and Vue.js included, and also we get authentication scaffolding as well out of the box, although in this project we don't need it. And as you can see, please run npm install, so let's do that. Right, that's done as well. So let's now create our database for this project. So I already opened up my local host PHP my admin, and I'm gonna click on new, and I call my database Vue to do, and I set my character set for UTF-8 MB4 Unicode CI create. Okay, so we have created Vue to do database. Now let's open up this new project in our VS Code or whatever code editor you use. Right, so we have this freshly installed Laravel 7 with Vue.js. Now let's check our .env file. And as you can see, we have these database credentials here. So let's just change the database name from Laravel to our newly created Vue to do, because this is how I called my database, and the username is root and I don't have any password in my local environment. Okay, and as you can see, it's auto save, so automatically saved. Now I can close this up. Let's open a few more command line. npm run watch. And use this one to run our server. So php artisan serve, and now our application is available on this address. So let's see how it works. Okay, so it's compiled our CSS and JS files. Let's open up on that address, and as you can see, we have a freshly installed Laravel 7 and Vue.js. Okay, so let's just delete everything from this page because we are creating our own styles and own page. In order to do that, we have to go to the resources, views, and welcome.blade, and let's delete everything from here. And we are using the layouts app.blade as our template, so we don't need to type in all the times this HTML head and body tags as when we are creating new pages. Of course, this will be a single page application, but later on, if we would like to extend it with other pages, you don't need it. You don't need to type in all the time these tags. For this application, we don't need this nav bar as well, so we can delete these nav tags. We don't need these main tags. So all we have now the HTML document with head tags and body tags, and inside the body we have a div with ID of app. This will be used by Vue.js, so we have to keep this. It's important, and we place our content inside this yield content section. So let's just do that. We need to go to the welcome.blade, and we would like to extend that layouts.app.blade.php. So extend, and the name is app.blade.php, but it's inside the layouts folder, so layouts.app, and we don't need to type in .blade.php. Laravel automatically know that we are using that app.blade.php. And of course, as I just mentioned, I would like to place my content inside the yield content section, so type in section, and the name is content for that. Content, yeah. So now everything I type in, for example, I type in a h1 tag here, hello, should be placed inside this yield section. Let's just try this out. If I hit refresh, I can see only this hello now. Great. Okay, next I want the whole body section, use the whole screen width and height. So let's just do this in our CSS file where we can edit our CSS, our style. The CSS file is located in the resources, ses, and we need to edit this app.scss. So I grab my body tags, I grab my body. Okay, and I want to expand the body full width and height of the screen size. So width 100 VW and height is 100 viewport height, finally. Okay, and I want to use this blue gradient background, and I copy it from my existing project to speed this up. Okay, so I set the background color for this gradient blue. So beautiful. Okay, let's just see how it looks like. Okay, everything works as expected. Now let's center all our content exactly to the middle of the page. In order to do that, we are using flex, and as we are using bootstrap we are using Bootstrap classes to create this Flex container. Okay, first of all, let's go to this app.blade.php, and for this div, for this main div, let's give some class, so it's extended to the full. So it's extended to the full page. Okay, so it's 100% width and 100% height. Now let's go to the welcome.blade.php. And let's create a main wrapper div with a class of 100 and height 100 again. And now I want a flex item here. So using Bootstrap class the flex, I want everything stuck on each other. So I want a flex column as well. And I want to center to the middle everything. So let's use justify content center and align items center as well. And let's place this h1 tag inside this wrapper div, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, so it's centered exactly to the middle of the page. Let's make this text white, and let's rename it. So let's say Vue.js to do app, and let's give a class of text white, and let's make it a bit bigger. So we are using display 4, for example. Let's have a look. Great. Now it's time to create our Vue.js component, which will be an input field and a submit button first. Okay, so let's create this input field and submit button now. Right, so let's go to the resources, JS and components, and we can use this example component if we want to. Let's just delete everything. Let's delete this container class, and let's rename it to do component. Okay, we don't need, actually we will need this mounted later on, but for now we need to create the data, and this data will return an object. Great, we need a comma here. Okay, so this is the basic structure, basically a Vue.js component. Now we want to show an input field, basically a form with one input field and a submit button. So let's just grab this input field from Bootstrap 4 website. Okay, and I want an input field with a appended button. So let's scroll down, and here you go. So I want a similar input field with a button next to it, which is the second. So I just grab everything from here. And I place it in here. Okay, and I also want to wrap it inside a form. Okay, and I don't need any action. Vue.js and Axios will take care about actions. Okay, so in order to see how does it looks like, we need to use this component. So let's go to the app.js, and instead of using this example component, we just renamed. Let's say we renamed it to do component, and I want to use this component inside my blade template as called to-do component. Okay, so if I go to the welcome.blade, I need to use this word to embed this component into the page. So let's just do that. To do component. Okay, so it has to look like this, and now see what we can see on the page. Right, great. So we have this input field with the button as well. Let's just style it a little bit. I want a larger input field. So I use this large form control LG. So I just add this class to this input field. Have a look. Great, it's much bigger now. I don't need any placeholder value for now. And I want to rename the button. Add this to your list. And I want a success, so it's a green button. And the type is not button but submit. We'll submit this form. Let's have a look. I must have a typo. Yeah, it's a btn-success. Great. Okay, so let's make it a bit wider. Let's add an extra class to this div. Okay, let's make it 25% width, and let's make this input group 100% width. So let's have a look now. Okay, that's width is better. So now we have the input form, input field. We would like to submit the data and save the data into the database, but we also want some validation and stuff like that. So in order to handle error messages and submissions and make everything user-friendly, for example, if we got an error message and somebody types in, we would like to clear the error message and we would like to hide the error message. So in order to do that, to make it easier, if you search in Google Laracast Vue-forms, you will find this Airmand GitHub repo. You need to grab everything from here and save it in a form.js file. I show it for you. So as you can see, I'm inside the resources folder, JS folder, and inside that JS folder I have the app.js, bootstrap.js, and now I have this form.js. So I just added a new file, and I paste all that code inside here, what I just showed you. So I paste the code from here. But anyway, my code will be in the description, so you can grab it from over there, and it will handle your submission, your post, your update, your delete request, and the error messages. It will grab the error messages from the backend, and you can work with it in a nice way. Okay, so let's continue. So we have now that file. We can close this up. Of course, in order to use this file, we need to include it inside this app.js. So let's just do that now. So we would like to import that form.js. Okay. We would like to use it in everywhere from our window, so window. Right, so basically we are importing this file from here and we assign it to the window. Right, so we would like to grab the input field values by Vue.js. In order to do that, let's do form. So now we are able to use this form because we just imported inside app.js. We can close this anyway. Okay, so what we would like to grab by Vue.js, we would like to grab a title of the to-dos, so title. And by default it's empty. Okay, and now we need to connect this title to this input field, so we will use v model. And we say we want to assign any input value to this form.title. So let's just do that, form.title. Okay, so now these two are connected. Let's just test this. If I hit refresh, I'm using Vue Dev Tool anyway, it's a Chrome extension. I suggest to download it. If you downloaded it, you will see this, if you press F12, you will see this Vue tab at the end. And this is our to-do component. And we have the form, we have the errors, as I just told you, and we have the title. And if I start to type something inside this input field, you should see it down here as well. And yeah, this is working as we expected. So the question is now how to submit this data to our Laravel backend, to our controller. First of all, we need to create the controller and we need to create the model, because at the moment we have the database, but there is nowhere to save inside the database. So we need to create a table for that to save this data. So let's just create a migration file, a model file, and a controller file by Laravel. And let's say PHP artisan make model. Okay, and let's call this model to-do model. And we want to create the migration file, the controller file, and we want the controller file with resources as well. So to-do, this is the model name, and we want the migration controller and resources, so that's why I use this flag mcr at the end. Right, hit enter. Okay, it has created the model, the migration and controller files. So let's start with the migration file, which is located inside the database folder, migrations folder, and here you can find the newly created to-dos table. And what we want to save inside the database, we want to save the title of the to-do, and we want to save it if it's completed or incompleted. So let's create a table. String for the title. And let's create one more table. It will be a boolean for completed. And by default, it will be false, because if we just added our to-dos to our list, it's of course it's incompleted. So default 0, which means false. Okay, so now we should be able to migrate this table. So let's go to the command line and do that. PHP artisan migrate, enter. Okay, everything is migrated, but let's just have a look. Vue to do. And yes, we have the to-do stable created, title and completed. Great. Now Laravel by default protects us from mass assignments. So we need to specify the fields we want to populate through a form or through a request. In order to do that, you can go to the app folder and you will find the todos.php. And here we need to specify a fillable property. So all we need to do is protected fillable. So now we are able to populate these fields inside the database, title and completed. So now we have the title, we can grab it by Vue.js. Now we should submit the form. So there will be a submit event. So at submit, I would like to prevent the default action, default HTML action. So prevent, and I want to do my own stuff, which will be save data. You can call it whatever you want anyway, it doesn't matter. So at the submit, if we hit this submit button, we would like to call this method. So let's go down here and create a new method. And let's create this function. Okay, so we want to create a new package where we would like to grab this title. So let data equals to new form data, and append to this data package this title. So data dot append title this dot form dot title. So we're having this title down here and we assign it to this data title, and this will be sent to the Laravel controller. So let's just send this data through axios. So let's say axios dot post, and we would like to post it to the API route to do, and we want to send the data. Okay, so once again we type in something inside this input field which will be assigned to this title, and then we are creating a new data object, and this will be assigned to this data title, and this data will be sent to this API route. So let's just create this route. Let's go to the routes folder, api.php, and let's create this route. It will be a resources, so it will be able to handle get, post request, update and delete requests by default. It's not resources, it's resource. To do. So if we hit the to do route, we want to go to do controller. And Laravel will automatically know if it's a post or delete or update or get request, because we're using this resource keyword. So let's go to the app folder, HTTP controllers, and here we can find to-do controller, and this post request will hit this store method, and we are accepting the request. The request will be this data. Okay, so what we want to do, we want to create a new to-do in our database. So let's just do that. Okay, so basically we are creating a new to-dos, and we fill up this new database entry with all the submitted fields. In this case, it will be only the title. Okay, let's just test it out. It should save this into the database. Let's have a look. Hit refresh. We haven't got any error so far. First to do. Let's submit it. Okay, I haven't seen any error so far. Let's go to the database, hit refresh. And yes, it's saved it, and it's not completed yet. So it's saved it in our database, but we would like to see some feedback. For example, clear this form out, and let's add it down here to our list. Okay, so how we can so basically this is a Laravel 7 and Vue.js CRUD application. So create, read, update, and delete. So we are able to create now. Let's jump to the read section now. So we would like to read our database entries. So we would like to read this entry and display it to the user. Okay, so how can we grab all the information from the database? We need to create one more function, one more method, and let's call it get to-dos. You can call it whatever you want. I need a comma here. Okay, and we need to perform one more axios request, which will be not a post request, but it will be a get request. So it will be a get request to the same route without any extra parameter. And then if we have a successful response, so then we would like to grab the response. Use an arrow function here. And we would like to assign it to a variable. So let's just create this variable inside this data return. Let's do a new variable called to-dos, because it will contain all our to-dos. By default, it's empty. Okay, so let's just say this dot to-dos, which is referring to this. I want to be equal this response dot data. Okay, so basically we are performing a get request to our API route, which will be direct us to the controller and grab all the data from the database, and then if it's successful, then grab the response, and we want the response data to be these to-dos. So we were getting back a collection from the database, Laravel collection. Okay. And if we have any error, then of course we would like to catch that error, so dot catch. Okay, so now let's just go to the controller and handle this get request. Controller, and we will hit this index method. So let's return straight away our response. So return. We want to return the to do. We want the latest first, latest, and grab all of them. So get. Okay, so it will go to our to-do table and get all of them in the latest order, and it will return it to our Vue.js to this Vue.js application, and we will get this response data and assign it to these to-dos. And if we are going up here after the form, we can create one more div. Let's make it 25% width again, same as our form. And inside this div, we would like to create one more div, which will be 100% width, and I want to show the to-dos title. So we need to create a for each loop basically. In Vue.js we can do it with v4. So we want a to-do from these to-dos. Key will be todo.id. Okay, so we don't have any error, and we would like to just print out our to-do title. To-do.title. Okay, so we are looping through these to-dos as a to-do, and we want the title of each of to-do. Great, let's have a look how it works. Of course we need to call this function. So the mounted will be called every time we load the page. So when we load the page or reload the page, this method will be called, this get to-dos. So this function will be run. Okay, so let's just refresh the page. And something went wrong. We have one error. Let's have a look. Latest, so I must have a typo over there. Yeah, late. Latest, okay. Refresh again. And we have the first to do from our application. But now if I type in my second to do, it's probably added to the database. Yes, it's added, but we are not seeing on this page, and the input field hasn't been cleared. All we have to do is go back to the save data, and when we're saving our data, we are sending this post request. Then if it's successful, .then press. First of all, let's just reset the form. So this dot form dot reset, and then let's call this get to dos function. This get to dos, and if we have any error, we would like to grab that as well. Okay, so it should work now. Let's have a look. If I hit refresh, of course we are seeing the second to do, but third to do. Okay, and as you can see, we are seeing our third and without any page reload. There you go. And our input field is cleared as well. Okay, but what if I submit this form without any input? Of course, I'm getting this error, but I would like to do some validations before it tries to populate my database. So let's create a validation and let's grab the error messages. Okay, so first let's go to the controller and create the error messages, then we will grab the error messages inside the Vue component. So let's go to the store method, and before we try to create a new to-do inside the database, let's do a validation. This validate. We would like to validate the request. And we want to validate the title from the request. And this title is required by default. And we can create a custom error message as well to this required validation. Okay, so basically we are validating the request title, it's required, and if this validation is failed, so this title required fails, then we would like to give back this error message to the input field is required, but you can send any message back, whatever you want. Okay, now if we're going back to our Vue.js application, then we are seeing the 422 error message instead of the 500, and we can see our error message now. The title field is required. Which is not the message what I wanted. So let's go back and let's have a look. Required, yeah, I have a typo here. So let's refresh again. And now I have the error message I just typed in to do input field is required. Right, so now we would like to display it to the user and make this input field red and stuff like that. So let's just do that. So we need, first of all, we need to grab this error message. Okay, so this is the then method, and after we would like to catch the error message. What is? Okay, so we would like to catch the error message. So if we have any error, then we would like to assign this error message to this form error message, which comes by default because we have imported this form.js file. Okay, so this form.errors record, and we would like to record this error response data errors. Right. So if we have an error, then we would like to assign it to this form errors. Let's have a look if it's working. Hit refresh, and if we are going to this Vue tab, to this component, at the moment our errors fields inside this form is empty. If I try to submit the form and I hit refresh here, as you can see, I have the title to this input field is required. So now we are able to access to this errors.title inside the component. So let's just do that. After this input group, after this input field, we are creating a span, and we want to see this span field only if we have any errors related to this form title. So if form dot errors dot has title. Okay, so if this form errors field has a title error which is related to this input, so if we have multiply input fields, we just have to name it as, for example, description, and we will get the related error message to each field, under each field. Then we would like to show that error message, so we text form.errors, and we want to get that error message related to the title. So let's just give some classes to this span. We want to make the text danger, and we want to give some padding top as well, pt3. What else you want? Oh, and we also want this input field border red. So we need to give a class to this input field. Invalid if this maybe we don't need this. We need only form.errors.has title. So if this form error has a title, then we want to add this class is invalid. Let's try this out. Hit refresh. Okay, so that's working. We got this danger border, but we want this this error message in the next line. So let's just fix that. Let's just add this after this div, and let's have a look. Yeah, now it's working. Of course, we need some padding to the bottom as well. Let's make this text bigger also. Font size, let's make it 20 pixel. So we make it visible, and let's add padding bottom free as well. Let's have a look. Refresh. Yeah, that's working as we expected. We got this danger outline and to do as well. But now if I start type in something to this input field, I would like to remove this red border, and I would like to remove this error message, because the user starts typed in, so the user definitely doing the right thing. So I would like to indicate that as well. And that's why is useful this little form.js file, because now we can clear the error message from this form.error related to this field. So add this input field. I have to use a key down. The title. So it will clears only the title error message. So if we would have, for example, a description as well, and it has to be required as well, then it will clears only the title error message. So all the other error messages will be on the page. Right, let's have a look. Try to submit. We got the error. And as soon as we start to type in, we have this normal input field. And if we submit it, it's added to the list.